Hello everyone, my name is Harold Campos and welcome to the channel. Today I will be speaking about two new XML operations that we are releasing to public preview. The XML Parse and Compose with a schema that will be available for customers that are available for customers in the portal already who are leveraging Azure Logic Apps with XML workloads. So let me start saying that Azure Logic Apps loves XML. Right, so we've been, as a part of a number of streams, we have been working on providing stronger XML capabilities to our customers. And these two new actions, we are sure that they will be unlocking a number of scenarios that were not possible before or that require third-party tools. So we are very excited to see how you are going to be using these two new actions. In the XML Operations connector, we already had the Transform XML and the XML validation actions available that customers have been using for mapping and validation. Now with the Compose with the schema and Parse with the schema that are currently in public preview, these actions allow an interaction from users with the token picker at design time, right? So with this, the XML is no longer a black box for our customers. So then this is something that you will have visibility and control on it. The tokens are generated from the XML schema provided by the customer. These schemas, they will have to be uploaded first, of course, right, into the artifacts, schemas directory in the Logic app. And we are happy to say that with this addition, we are making of XML a first-class citizen for Azure Logic Apps. So for the parse with the schema, it needs a source of the schema and its name. The schema can be uploaded to schemas or an integration account. There are a number of settings that we have added for customers that have a specific requirements, such as ZTD processing. Can be enabled. It's prohibited by default, but it can be overwritten. And XML is normalized by default, but you may need the XML content not to be normalized. XML attributes may or may not be relevant to you. Ignoring them allows to streamline the result in JSON, but you may opt to include them when they contain some relevant information, right? And there are a few more properties that I invite you to explore for the parse with the schema. And the same for the Compose with the schema. It requires a source, Logic App or integration account, the name of the XSD schema file to be used for composing the XML data, and the JSON root elements of your input XML schema. Customers to use their existing XML schemas from past projects or other integration components without the need of dedicated single top level element schema. As you can see, there are a number of extensive advanced properties that you can explore as well, right? That I'm sure that will be welcomed by you and will be helpful for your XML-based scenarios. One more thing is who does it help? Why is this important, right? Which is something I think it's very relevant to how customers are using XML today, right? Any customers running XML-based workloads, custom, you want to move them to Logic Apps, so then you have the ability to parse and compose now. Customers migrating from BizTalk server. BizTalk server has it's been a leader in the XML space, right? So so you have X12, AS2, Edifact, Rosetta.NET, HL7. The customers using Swift Swift connectors, right, that are migrating from Swift running on BizTalk server to our connectors in Logic Apps. Customers using the Logic Apps rules engine, which is an evolution of the business rules engine in BizTalk server, right, that has also strong dependency on XML. And customers using EDI capabilities in Logic Apps. So I think with this addition, we are unlocking a number of scenarios that were not feasible before, and we are hoping that you can leverage, so then you can continue building mission critical solutions in Azure Logic Apps. So let's see a short demo. Okay, So I have created this workflow. It's fairly straightforward. You just have an HTTP request, and then it has an XML Compose with a schema. The schema is called sample schema. I'll show you. I'll show it to you in a bit, right? And basically, when I select the schema, I have the ability to enter the namespace, the customer ID. So I have two views, right? The individual view or the array view. So if you want to deal with the specific values, then you can do it like this, right? Or if you want to switch to an entire array, you can do so as well, right? And then you have once you have entered all of the values for what your schema is requiring, so then in that particular case you will be able to deal with it. So let's take a quick look to the schema. How does it look like? Let's open it now. I'll open. Let's see if I have it listed. So I think this is the schema. Yeah. So this is the schema, and you see that we have customers and orders, right? And in the orders, you have that they are matched with the customer. So we have a key here, which is customer ID key. So that's how they are matched, right? You have the customer type, and then the information for the customer, and then the same. It has an address, right? And the same for the orders as well. Okay. So then with this schema, this is the one that we have uploaded. Then all of these values they appear, they show up, right? And then in the parse with the schema, what I do is I read from the outcome of the compose with the schema. If you see here, I have the option to read the body, right? And then validation events information, so I can do any troubleshooting about it, right? And one more thing that I added to this workflow was just a call to an Azure API management API, right? So just to show how is it that you can use the token picker to read any of the values of the outcome of the XML parse with a schema action, which in this case is a JSON value, right? I am sending a customer ID that it's coming from this XML parse with a schema, and then I'm sending it to this API that is it's actually it's a public API. So I'll provide instructions in the block entry. So let me just run it now. So this one doesn't require a payload, right? So it's running. The reason why it's a bit slow, it's because it goes to call the APIM, right? So not because of APIM, but because of this public web service that is a bit slow. So it's probably running on a single VM somewhere. And then you see the compose with the schema. In the compose with the schema, all of the values that I entered as individual values, they become a content in base 64. You see it here, right? And then they become the feed for the parse with the schema, right? So they come here as an input, and then they are the output for the parse with the schema is the JSON file. So you see the JSON here, right? That allows a better management of arrays, and then the customers, and then all of the values of that XML file that the information that I entered, not an XML file, right? To convert to compose with the schema. So then it was transformed. The outcome was generated as a JSON file, right? So then that is what just happened. If I go here to my workflow again and then try to what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to create another workflow, right? So let's do this. When an HTTP request is received, and then I think I started with the compose. Now I'm going to start with the parse. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to receive the content that is coming from the payload on the HTTP request. I'm going to select a sample schema. I'm going to save, right? And then I'm going to add a compose here. And in the compose, it's interesting because, well, I select the schema, but what I'm going to do differently here now is I'm going to switch to array, and then I will be getting the array from customers here that is coming from the JSON schema, and I'm going to switch to entire array again for the orders, and I will be selecting the orders array here coming from the previous JSON schema as well. I'm going to save now, and I'm going to submit a payload, an XML payload, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my payload somewhere here, and you will see that I have to change the type here to XML, and then this is the information that I'm sending in the payload, right? Run, close, and then I'll take a look to this, right? A designer. Let's do refresh. Yes. So it run, and then you see I got the HTTP request with the data. The data that I sent in the payload, XML data, right? And then what I got is I got the data parse as JSON, the XML data parse as JSON, and then I composed the data from the JSON that was previously generated, right? So then what you will see here is the content here, right? And then with these values, so then you will have the outputs that are coming from this XML parse with the schema. So if I go back to the original one that I ran as well, right? I think I did run this one. No, but I'm gonna rerun it. Run. I don't think I showed the outcome of it. So if I go to the details of it, so then you will see that there was the compose, right? It was composed as base64 as well. It was the parse, right? So this is the opposite process, right? And then it was the call to the API, right? In the call to the API, so I'm calling, I'm using the order ID 1001, right? And I'm getting, sorry, the customer ID. I'm using the customer ID 1001, and I'm getting, yes, customer 1001. I'm getting the orders for this customer. In here. So what is it's interesting to see is that all of this is fairly straightforward with the new actions. So I invite you to try them, use them in your projects, and give us some feedback. So you can add it to the blog entry that I will be submitting this video with, or to the video comments as well. Thank you for your time. I hope this was interesting for you, and I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel that is here, and email me if you have questions, or follow me on X, or add me as a contact on LinkedIn. Thank you.